It is Championship Sunday, and it all has to be decided today. It's no question about it. The championship's going to Finland. The question is, to who? Now, as we sit at possibly the most impressive circuit in all of road courses ever, it is going to be Mount Panorama Bathurst that decides this season. It's going to be between Topi Koutaniemi and Pauli Partanen. And it's practically a win and you're a hero, lose and you'll be forgotten scenario from two former champions. My name's Jake Sperry, along with me, Craig King, for today's racing action as we get set from a land down under. Craig, as far as today goes, it's about parity. Who is going to notch a tiny step above the other today, knowing how critical this circuit has been for us, not just in this championship, but for many others over this last week.
Last week, we have seen two other championships go to the wire here with a fantastic finish in the skip barbers that some of these drivers took part in. So it's all to play for at the final race of the season. One thing for sure, as you say, could be a finished winner. Could be interesting if Topi can make revenge for 2 years ago.
Yeah, Topi Koutaniemi looking to try and jump up and get another title, but he'll have to do so at a very tricky place to race. Let's take a look at your GSRC track guide, which shows you what makes this track such a ferocious beast.
Welcome to Mount Panorama Circuit. Most drivers simply refer to this place as Bathurst, with it being located just to the southwest of the city's major hub. But most ominously, and perhaps appropriately, it's been nicknamed the Mountain. With more than 500 feet of elevation change over the course of a lap, it's easy to understand why. Though originally built for racing, it's become a street circuit over time, with the track itself used for regular traffic and featuring residential housing all along the roads. This makes this 4-mile, 23-turn course incredibly unique in the world of racing. In the past, the track has hosted a variety of types of cars, including open-wheelers. But modern safety standards means that most competitive racing has now been limited to sports cars and touring cars. However, the dangers are very real due to the incredibly high speeds and lack of runoff throughout much of the circuit. The quickest parts are the run up the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend, and then the flat-out blast back down the Conrad Straight and into the chase. This chicane was added in the late 80s to break up the run down to Murray's Corner. But while most chicanes are derided for ruining the character of a track, the terrifying speed as you approach it and the general difficulty make it fit right in with Bathurst challenges. However, the toughest portions are undoubtedly along the mountain itself, with notorious corners like the Cutting, Brock Skyline, the Dipper, and Forest Elbow. In fact, one of the more unique worries of this course is that all of these parts are so narrow that track blockages due to wrecks are not uncommon in the first few laps. The Australian fans often line the fences and hillsides to witness the daredevil spectacle of drivers trying to claim King of the Mountain. You can't blame them with how rare of a sight a track like Bathurst is today.
And so to Mount Panorama we will go, as we will head to a land down under in Australia, and a little bit between Sydney and Orange here in New South Wales. This is racing royalty around here. Every time you see 1,000 up, every time you see 12 hours come up, you think, wow, how great. But there's also the small races in between that are sprint style and make this circuit in 1938 opened so brilliant. Only one change to the track, that, of course, being the chase.
And the key thing about the chase today is going to be one of the key overtaking places here for the drivers. That and Murray's Corner, the final corner, that is where some of the drivers have named as the overtaking spots. Because you see there at Griffin's Bend, but due to the camber of the corner, it's going to be tough to try and make a move around the outside. They'll have to try and take it to the inside. But going up the hill, and look at it up the hill. No go at the cutting due to the fact that it's a light flat tap on the brakes, and then going up that hill is single file. In slower cars, you can take it side by side. You won't be seeing that today, and then it's all about getting it right at Forest Elbow at 18. Make a mistake there, it's not just a tire barrier, but it's also your positions.
And every position will count on a day where qualifying is going to play a huge factor. out there to what everybody is hoping to master. Let's take a talk at what we stand with at the top of the standings going into today. Pauli Parton on 956. Yes, is 43 clear of Jack David Spickett and Togo Hesada, but both of those drivers have used their drops. Toppy has a free drop in the back pocket. He's got 106 points to try and score a win and bonus points. Can leapfrog him over Pauli Partonen if he finishes second. Second for Pauli, he will need bonus points to jump himself into that position, or just winning it outright gets it done, and no need to math further down, but you might just have to with the way Courtaniemi is trying to jump up. Jacob Reed is fifth in the championship ahead of Timothy Reed, with Gabri Martinez and Dylan Freckleton 7th and 8th. Jerno Fritzsche a little down the order this season on part-time schedule in 9th. Alexi Tapiavico rounding out your top 10. F2, a different story, Craig.
You can see the qualifying right now. You'll see how interesting it is. But for the F2, it's all but done. Josephine Becker still has to get a drop weekend. So this is her championship, because Kurt Clapper is nowhere to be seen in the top split. That's going to hurt him in terms of points, but he needs to overturn a lot. The only way Kurt has a chance to beat Josephine today is to win outright. And being he's second split, he'd have to win and be faster than the winners in top split. That's not going to happen. Miera as well having a battle with him for P2, well, alongside Thomas Tuber. So still a battle in the F2 for the podium spots, right behind the Miguel Morland, Jason Kraviak, and Shoen Samari, including Barry West and Keith Herner. So tight there, all just trying to get some bragging rights there. And at the end of the day, some of those drivers have made the top split, some are in second split.
Yep, so you get a real difference in terms of who's picking up pace where, and they're going to be looking around for a result, and they might actually get away with some being in that second split, having clean air at the front. But here's your race details for racing action today. Championship Sunday, we've seen it at Abu Dhabi, for example. We'll see it here. Round 12 of 12 is where we're at. 20 laps with open setup, so it's just about who's quickest out there. There are no spare cars available, and of course, a drive-through at 17, disqualification at 25. With the walls as close as they are today, Craig, I would be very scared at breathing wrong down the hill to the Forest Elbow.
And that's the important thing, because there's a lot of just bumps in the road. So if you try to get too hot on the throttle, you're going to wheel spin, but you're also going to lose the rear of that car a little bit. And also the drivers want to make sure they don't get too aggressive, because the moment you just be a little bit too much on the brakes, the rears will lock up and that car will go around. Qualifying, this is a sub-2-minute lap here, Jake. Look at the gaps at the top.
It is 700ths to split your top three. Topi Courtaniemi, Jacob Reed and Pauli Partonen all sit there in the mix. Jerno Fritzsche looking for a bit of time. He's half a second off the pace at this moment here on a 50.4 and looking to try and jump up in the mock-up Tyrrell to the line. Big kick of tail through the final corner, finds Fractions, but Fractions won't get the place over Gabri Martinez, knowing that there's just a minute and a bit remaining in this qualifying. The last few cars, Carlos Peralta and a mock-up Jordan there, the original one, goes 14th, so happy with that. But we were talking about it just before coming on air. Drivers like Jack David Spickett, like Togo Hesada, like Andy T have all turned around and said, no, we're not racing, we don't want to get involved in this. Jacob Reed has said, I will, because I can.
Yeah, you also got to look as well. Jack David Spickett did decide to go in. A little bit too wet outside, so he thought he'd stay in the dry as Alvarez comes around the chase. This is important. We keep our eye on Alvarez just in case he puts the last of the gods in. But if Topi gets pole position, that's 2 bonus points. That will mean that Pauli has to beat Topi to win the championship. Anything lower than a third will be void there. So now it is really a case of fastest to the line will win the championship, as Alvarez did put a lap in. It's not enough to upset the top 5.
Imagine this, 11 races in a championship. You get to the 12th round and it basically comes down to, well, all those races beforehand mean nothing. It just matters about this one and who finishes ahead of the other. Qualifying about to tick itself over and done with then for this one, and they are going to stack up as follows in this 30-car field that splits twice. Topi Courtaniemi, a 149.978 200ths faster than Jacob Reed, who starts alongside him on the front row. Pauli Partanen and Gabri Martinez will be on row 2. It's then the living legend, Jerno Friescher, in 5th. Kartik Pai will be then alongside him in 6th, with JB Masada and Mikko Leno 7th and 8th. Mikko sometimes has the pace to jump up. Same could be said for Alberto Senao, who is there in 9th. He's alongside another Spanish compatriot in Alexei Tapiavico.
Well, Jack David Spickett's going to be in 11th, with Timothy Reed in 12th. Josephine Becker will seal off an F2 championship in 13th, with Carlos Peralta in 14th. And then Mickey Friesen getting dry in 15th, with Aaron Blair beside in 16th. Miera will be in 17th, with Antonio Alvarez 18th. Luca Monroe, the last driver in the top split, will be 19th. Dylan Frackleton rounds out your top 20.
Yeah, so Moreira will now be trying to do everything possible. Matthew Cockram and Jean-Francois Boscus on row 11, with Michael Deeks and as well Daniel Banker then on 23rd and 24th. Keith Herner will have Art Karts in the 13th row, with Mauro Micheletti the last set of time from the back. No shocks for Jason Clapper, Jakob Oberslack, and then Kurt Clapper also electing for no qualifying, which around here is sometimes a really good decision, because this is a track that is known to bottle up and jam at various elements. So if you've got the ability to avoid that, you've got a really great chance. Now, they don't run the old school style Mount Panorama grid slots that are there and available that you see in the likes of the Bathurst 1000. They will look and take a case of, I will go 1st, 4th, 5th, 8th, and have the stagger, and it is a slightly larger stagger than what you'd see at a traditional race circuit out there. So there is a lot of work that's going to be needed to be done off the start to beat Topi Kohtaniemi in towards Hell Corner, turn number 1. Track temperature is 35 degrees as the green flag drops, and a title must be decided. Jacob Reed gets a slow launch, and immediately through turn 1, it's Pauli Partanen up into 2nd position. He gets a slide through the opening corner, and now Jacob Reed has a chance on the mountain straight to attack him straight back. Here he comes for the inside, looking for a chance then up into the quarry corner of turn number 2. Pauli needs to get the clearance here, and done on the breakthrough. Critical as he will now look to chase Kohtaniemi up and down this mountain.
That's a crucial overtake, because he couldn't go around the outside of Quarry. And more importantly, the wind is 18 kilometers an hour southerly. North, they're going up to south, so they're getting the wind right in their face going up the hill, and that is vital, because we know from earlier this week, Topi is trimming the car out. He's going to have a lot more speed. It's going to be very tough for him around the rest of the track. No big movers at the moment. Most of the drivers up 2 if they're upsung as well. Mickey Freeze to one of them as well, but Reed struggling. Gabri laid on the brakes through the dipper.
Yeah, so you're getting the sense early that drivers need to give themselves time. They need to give themselves places, and they need to say, look, I can go and get these places out there. They know when they sit down and watch this, Craig, they know that one, get yourself clean through there, and it's going to be easier for the rest of this race. It has been entirely clean through this field to start. Alberto Senao, who is there in 9th place, wanting to try and work a way through against Mikko Leno for that 8th as they head through the fastest corner in Australian sim racing to chase, but not close enough to have any lunges at a move.
Yeah, earlier this week in the Skip Barbers, we saw drivers making a lot of moves. Right there, Josephine Becker having a little bit of a drive there on Peralta. Pete Peralta going around, and yet Josephine does apologize. Not where she wanted to go. Behind as well, Alvarez trying to get now around Peralta. Very tough and nice defense around the outside there by Peralta at Murray. That's a corner that's really tough to do as well, breaking down the hill at Murray. So really good to try and get that there and get the downforce. But as I was saying, Skip Barbers, most of these drivers were having to make overtakes on the straight using the speed. And they're not making this overtakes on the speed here. They're just going side by side. What can Gernot do alongside Gabri? And Gabri turned in. Gabri turned in.
Gabri was trying to pinch and take a natural line into the corner. He was fully alongside, and basically they clip front to rear wheel, and Gabri Martinez pays the price and is out. Then Jerno Preacher up to 4th, but Jerno got fully alongside and then some. You can run too wide at Quarry Corner. The issue you're going to always run into, you have to leave room.
Just because it also flattens out a little bit around the outside. and that just causes the issue because you've got that nice cambering on the inside of Quarry that just allows you to flow in. It's one of those cambers that the drivers really love to use, but look at this train behind Lino, and in fact he's got Mercedes and Pi right ahead, but Sanao, Spickett, Vico, Reed, all there freezing, just hanging on. We talk a lot, Jake, about the elastic band. When it snaps, you're not going to see that snap a lot here. Granted, the top three are out of the picture now. This is the big through, and it will all just contract and then shrink again when they come to the straights. And that's going to be very important. It's Mercedes. He gets that run, looking for an overtake, but he's just too late.
JB Masada looking for a way to move on to 4th position, proving that his pace is getting better and better with each passing season now, with the likes of Kartik Pai, who's ever the consistent driver, out there trying to go through. That is not a healthy car for Matthew Cochrane. The front left suspension completely buckled and broken. Powley with the fastest lap to his name. That, critically, is 2 bonus points that, in the context of this here, Craig, now mean nothing.
No, it means absolutely nothing, and now he has to just think about other ways of getting this position. He knows he's right behind Topi Kortanemi, but we're still looking at these battles at the back here of the top 10. Because it's just so important to just make rooms, and this is what we were expecting to see. A little bit of chess-like here, because drivers can make that move into the chase. We've seen drivers make moves into the chase. You've got to get there first, and you have to just survive this. But some drivers are happy to wait, and that's what Sanao's looking for, because he can't really find a way to get past that raging Jack Davis Fickett, who's already up 3 places. Ahead of him, Nico Leno is also up 3.
Yeah, so they just quietly work through to gain the places early, and Leno down the hill is going to find himself on the rear of Kartik Pai, getting a really good stare at that Ford DFB Cosworth engine in the back of this car, and trying to figure out, what do I need to do to get the move sorted down the hill through the Forest Elbow. It is 3.5 tenths of a second at the front, and only halfway down the straight is Pauli Partonen able to pick up slipstream and start running away back. Timothy Reed now side by side with Alexi Tapiavico as they run over the top of the crest and head their way to the chase, and it's comfortable enough then for Timothy Reed to get his pass that puts him into top 10'sville, knowing that you got the likes there of Mickey Friesen behind. Partonen's got pace, but this is the issue. When you're less trimmed out, it's pace in the wrong place.
Yeah, and granted, he has that downforce that allows him to just keep onto the back of Topi. What he's hoping for is Topi to crack under pressure, because if he just stays on the back here, and there's no other driver in the Lotus 79, maybe Togo Hisada, but there's no man who has the best handling to keep a car right on the back of another car than Pauli Partonen. So this is going to be his challenge right now. It's put the pressure on. So now it's also looking to try and make moves, but he cannot get that done. Mickey Friesen still making moves. Vico is going backwards at the moment, and that's just it. Just having that confidence to take the speed, take the late braking. That's what the drivers are doing. As I say that, Mickey just a little bit wide through the cutting.
Well, when you say that, we're talking about half a car width. I actually got a chance to look at some old Formula footage from the early 1980s of Alain Prost at Caesars Palace, and what surprised me was actually how little back in the era they used to cut the curbs and how aggressive they weren't. So you look around at this era, this is what you call taking it to the nth degree. They use the circuit to the extremes. They're not afraid of what happens if I bottle the car up with the spool up at the engine and making sure that this all works out. They know that they have to drive at 10 tenths for 20 laps.
They have to be at that pace, and that's going to be the vital thing, because Reed has taken that fastest lap away, so it just makes things even worse for Pauli Partonen at the moment. He knows he has to get down there, and he gets super close. Over the last couple seasons, he's had to battle Togo Hisada, and Togo is the king of the late breakers, so he's had to work out how to fight someone who breaks late. And he's had a lot of experience with Jack Davis Fickett, as you saw, with other drivers, Leno as well, Topi as well. You look at Togo, you look at Jacob Reed. He's had the experience to battle with drivers. He's just got to make it through. And speaking of a Reed, well, it's the other Reed, Timothy Reed getting ahead here. Mickey Friesen also getting ahead. It's all backwards to Vico, trying to snap that elastic band of Becker right behind.
Yeah, so Josephine, who is in full command of the F2 Championship. It will be a double then on F2 standing, so to speak here, Craig, if Josephine gets this done, as here comes a little look once more. Alexi Tapiavico to the inside, gets it back at Quarry against Mickey Friesen. But I don't know anybody who's taken F2 Championship both in 49s and 79s in the same year.
Well, in the same season we've been looking, we can't find it. In fact, both communities have approached them. We can't think of anybody. And not only that, she's the first woman to win any Formula title in either the 49s or the 79s. I said it earlier this week on another broadcast, and I love to repeat it. She is a threat next year to anyone racing open wheel racing. It's really good to see somebody new just take the reins of a car, you know, just a type of racing here. And she's got that pedigree. As Michelino, well, he's still got the pedigree. Dusting off some of that rust. Right behind him, though, is the charging Jack David Spickett.
Yeah, that was close from Michelino down the hill. Got it a lot more through the Big Dipper than was needed. But now Jacob Reed, it's the wrong way, Pauli. Don't want to start defending for positions. Forces away through the corner. Big half slide through, and that gives the gap to Topi Courtiniemi. Still side by side. Jacob doesn't care about your title. I can't afford to drop this pace. I'll back off.
Yeah, he had to back off because he realized if he tried to go side by side through Murray's corner, he's going to be losing even more time. Well, look at the time. There's still another 15 laps to go. No point trying to fight right now. Let's just get right onto the back of Topi Courtiniemi. But Jacob's thinking, I might be able to get you there. I want to win this. Can you blame him? You were talking about it. How many men, how many drivers have won not only just races in the 79, but races in the GP World Tour? One day he's going to win this championship and he's going to win the GP World Tour. He's going to be making stuff of legends around here.
Absolutely, and we've got our first issue up over the top of Skyline. It's the Colombian Antonio Alvarez, who finds himself out of the race by virtue of smashing the car up against the very tough concrete walls around this place. This is old school as old school gets. Kartik Pai in a huge amount of duress as he's lost the place to Mikko Leno. Oh, JDS, not a McPhillamy. Oh my goodness, what a pass. And he'll be followed through by Alberto Senao over the top of Skyline. My word.
My word, that was just a little bit of a judder there from Pai, and Jack had to just keep the momentum going. He knew if he did not, they were going to be losing out there in terms of time. He had to try and catch up to the back of Nico, and that's what he's done. Pai's safe, and he also tried to send that side-by-side going down Skyline with Senao. He realized the situation himself, and this is what some of those drivers are looking at. They know that the best way to race this right now is to be safe, and there's no safe about this. Jack wants a fight. Jack wants a bit of fun today. He wants to finish the season with his hair down, side by side. He will go defending against Senao. Senao can't make it around the outside.
They are chucking it in at the chase. There's a reason why we call it the fastest corner in Australian sim racing, because as Jack David Spickett threw the car down the inside, he was traveling at over 281 kilometers an hour, trying to get it slowed up on the brakes. And so Senao is going to sit in line, and now is going to need to run up the mountain straight after the duel on Conrad to try and get things sorted. So moving over to the left-hand side, maybe not wanting to go and make this move or showing an idea of where a pass was going to be, and it stays as it is between them. But I actually think this is a very interesting play from Pauli up front, because here's my question to you here, Craig. Jacob Reed definitely hurt at this moment being in second compared to third, but doesn't Jacob Reed help a lot more if he goes first?
He helps a lot more, but at this moment, if the championship ends as it is, Topi wins the title by 10 points. So at this moment, this favors Topi, but I think Pauli wants to try and use Jacob Reed's ability to just claw on. But the key thing here, let's go back to Mexico. And what happened at Mexico? The Finnish drivers had a great set. Topi played a shorter first gear. It was his downfall, because the long run pace belonged to Jacob Reed. The tyres didn't overheat that day, and that absolutely helped him. So is Jacob going to make a move here? Maybe. Is that going to help Topi? Maybe. They're going to try and go side by side, but Jacob also realizes the situation. He doesn't want to hurt Topi. He just wants to win against Topi.
Craig, I want to ask you this question. What's the scenario if Topi finishes second and Pauli finishes third?
Championship goes to Topi regardless, because you've got to look at it. The drop weeks will go in his favor, because Topi only has a 10-point drop round. He'd win the championship by just 3 points over Pauli Partonen. That is how important the bonus point was for Topi to get pole position today.
Yeah, he needed it. So now it means that Jacob Reed could be a hunt that is needed. Pauli, I think, just watching, hoping that chaos can reign here on lap 8 of 20, heading to the halfway stage. We go on board with the Worcesterman out there at this moment, a data scientist by day trade, and so someone who knows absolutely, without any shadow of a doubt, what it takes to get the best out of a car by looking at the numbers.
He's probably also using the numbers to work out what happens in the championship. I know he's racing for himself right now, but he's probably been having that little look in his head to, especially with the GP World Tour, he's probably seen what he has to do to get some positions in the championship, but also understands the situation. We have had one car go off over the hill. John Francis Boscus gone around, but that's another thing for him for a moment. Also catching out another driver, Luca Monroe, getting caught up. But Jacob Reed, and just look at the braking. This is a tough corner, Jake, because of the dip. Now, you know that dip. In any other car, it's fine. You put a ground force effect car down on this, the moment you brake too late, that bump's going to hit, you're going to lock up, you're going into the tyres.
Yeah, you get a massive influx of grip and then a massive reduction of it, and that's why you see porpoising in this style of machinery, because the car goes up and down and is basically reacting to the bumps underneath and creating little pockets then of downforce for you, because you're using everything. Every inlet underneath the car is there. This is Luca Monroe and the issue that befell out there. So heading up to Quarry, up and over and into the tyres. That is a massive crash for Jean-Francois Boscus, who ends up going flying over the bundle and then back over the top and lands upside down.
Oh man, that's not a good crash there, and I think it was just a miscommunication going around into Quarry. We've seen that before in other series. It's so tough. We've also seen Gabriel Martinez into the wall with an issue after that, because the drivers are fighting for that line there, so they have to be very careful. And now I'm just looking, Pauli Partonen, is it me, or is he starting to be a little bit too far behind Jacob Reed? Josephine Becker trying to do some defending here. You know Jacob Reed better than anyone here, despite I've been doing over a year of Jacob Reed in vintage racing, Jake. You've known him from the GP World Tour. When it comes to a race like this, he's got nothing to win apart from the race. What's his game plan? Is it just flat out and still attack, or is he just going to play the percentages today?
He wants to win every race. He's got over 20 wins in the iRacing Grand Prix World Tour. He's got over 1,000 points in the iRacing Grand Prix World Tour if you were to apply F1 scoring from the last 4 years. He's a driver who is absolutely stone cold ruthless out there and will do whatever it takes to win any race he can put his hands on. So Josephine Becker, she works down the hill, and it's always interesting to look at a Josephine Becker livery, because there's always some Miyazaki reference to it. Today, a My Neighbor Totoro 79.
Oh, what a beautiful livery, and I love it.
What a beautiful move.
Hang on, what a beautiful move as well. Is Jacob Reed going to try and get this with around the outside? I don't think he is. Almost looked about it. He had that inside line, but Topi made it working. That's Jacob Reed giving the Lewis Hamilton, as I like to say, putting the car out just a little bit to say, hello, I've got a chance to make a move here. Pressure's on. Jack David Spickett looking for pressure, almost coming together with Sanau. Sanau makes that move, trying to tighten up the corner there. It did work for Sanau. Jack might not be too happy, but he knows he's got the great run with the wind in front of him up this hill.
Yep, so if you're pushing the car into a headwind, it's going to be difficult, and Topi's defending. Jacob Reed, long road, hard travelled through turn 2, understeers wide, and Pauli thought about it heading to the cutting, but it's a short shoot run to 3 and 4. He backs out.
He backs out. The important thing is he had to back out, Ed, because you can't hard brake in these cars. The cutting is basically a tap of the brake in these cars. So now it's gone around as well. Got the car going again, but with what damage is the question. But that cutting We've seen it in other series. You can make overtakes there. You can't do an excuse me overtake at the cutting just because the speed you're carrying. In fact, Tanal's gone around again, as we're just saying that. He's taking the toe. But I'm curious. Peterson didn't go and force an issue there when he saw Reed going wide. Is he just waiting? Because that would have helped him.
I think he's biding his time here as Pauli Peterson. He knows that second or third, it doesn't make a difference. This was Sanal down the inside with Jack David Spickett. Contact between the pair, and that's enough to break the suspension to say my race is done and dusted. So that will be pretty much that as far as the race will go. Courtney still courting a title at this moment. Jacob Reed there in second, and Pauli at 6/10 back. I think's trying to just save tyre at this moment to go pretty much to the walls in the final stages of this race if he holds on.
Yeah, let's just give it a rundown here. It's the afternoon in the sim time here. It's 3:30 sim time Australia in the summer, so it's a little bit warm. But when I went to the drivers, I was saying, what are we looking at in terms of temperature? If it was any earlier in the day, they'd be looking at 40, almost 50 C temperatures out there. But thankfully, it's coming to where the track starts to cool down. So it's a nice 34 Celsius. It doesn't sound like it's nice. It is. Jacob Reed, he wants to do something nice. He wants to try and go around the outside. He's still trying to go around the outside. But again, the track levels off. He doesn't get the run, and he brings Peterson back into the equation.
And Pauli knows that his best place is this mountain as and when he decides. A mistake going through. A blown engine on the downshift, is it? Yes, look at the smoke pouring out of the back of Jacob Reed's car. It's 1v1.
It ominous Papham, but it could be ominous championship because that's Jacob Reed with a big smoke there, and he's going to be careful not to put a sight screen up for any other driver. Heartache there, and I wonder if that was the bump. Because we know you go around the outside, you go around the cutting, you go on the top of the cutting, the right side's always the fastest side because of the way the track just bumped. And I wonder if he's just hit the gear there, tried to make the gear shift over that bump, and that might be the thing, but he's coasting down. He wants to at least make sure he doesn't park the car. He's being smart here, but he can't finish the race now unless they can kind of do a 5-second engine swap. His race is done.
Yeah, he'll now have to go down to pit lane and get that engine, that Ford DFV Cosworth sorted. Everyone's going to go by. There goes Kartik Pai. There goes Timothy Reed. There goes Alexi Tapiavico. All through, not necessarily in the same order, but they are all now staring down the barrel of a car that will be limping back home to the pit, and everything will be avoided from that point onwards. 7/10 of a second, and the story just got simpler. It is a case at the top of win, and it's the title. Lose, and it's done, and it's now up to Pauli. He'll have no help and no hindrance up there.
More importantly as well, I'm looking at the traffic here. The last car on the lead lap has just made the Forest Elbow, so I don't even think we're going to be having a lap traffic issue around here with just 8, 7, 9 laps to go. My maths is really bad right now. I'm trying to work on 5 different permutations here. Timothy Reed continues to look, and it's been a real good drive today from Timothy Reed. Also, Jake, one of those rare occasions that E comes before I, if you know what I mean, when it comes to the two Reeds.
It does today, and that's because Timothy Reed's played the calm game, and it's worked. Josephine Becker, she's looking for a top 10 against Mickey Friesen, with Aaron Blair happily watching from behind. Started in 16th position here today and has made progress. Not a great day for making places. Jason Clapper, no surprises, the best, only plus 10.
Hey, he'll be plus 11 once when you get past Jacob Reed, but let's just put that through equation. Plus 11 is pretty good when there's not been 11 retirees, so that's good. You see Josephine with a little bit of a slide, kissing the walls. And you just wait for the mistletoe before you start doing that, trying to catch up to Mickey. Mickey is a tough cookie to crack as well. It's not his favorite formula here, it's not his favorite type of racing, but he loves throwing that Nissan GTP-inspired Lotus 79 around. And I tell you what, a top 10 for Mickey is still good. It can be so much better for Josephine, though.
A Nissan GTP-inspired livery from a driver in the IMSA Vintage Series where you've got a Nissan GTP. He goes, no, I drive a GTO.
Apparently the reason is that there is no GTO livery. I'm sure if he wanted to pay somebody, he would. But he's also just promoting the Intervention Series, like some of the drivers do. I remember there's some drivers that love to drive around advertising the Lotus 49s as well as part of the Triple Crown of vintage racing. 6/10 is the gap. Paoli's got the fastest lap, and it's not enough. And he needs to find something. And now I'm wondering, where does he look for this, Jake? There's not a lot he can do. He's been struggling over the mountain. That's a shock to me, that he's been struggling over the mountain compared to Topi Courtenemi. We've always known Courtenemi's pace, knock on wood. He's just got a few more laps to get.
Well, a few laps left here in this one. 6/10 though. He's managed to catch a 10th and a half, 2/10 over the top. I think Dirty Air is playing a factor here through the opening sections, and now back down the hill. I'm not worried right now. I don't care what happens if I was Paoli Parton with 8 laps to go. I care what happens with 1 lap to go. I think this is a race that's not about where you are now at 8. So long as you're within a second or half a second, you've got a really great chance. Now this is going to be the telling part of what's the gap going to be reeled down to. 5/10 of a second, now down to 4. Now looking to flick on over, down, trying to get to 3/10 of a second now. So you've got to be within about 3/10 of a second coming out the Forest Elbow. That's doable for Paoli Partonen.
It's doable, but then you've got to try and make the move, and these drivers are not going to give the inside. So that means Paoli has to use his experience to try and make moves around the outside, and Paoli's got experience to make moves around the outside. I don't think he'll try to do it around Quarry. He's seen that Jacob had some issues out there before, so he'll have to just wait. But if you see, Topi may be a little bit worried here. He's probably at the last moment. In fact, he's done it right now, Jake. He's taken to the right of the track. He's not going to let Paoli go anywhere. The door is shut. The dog flap is locked. Nowhere for Paoli to go.
Nowhere yet, but Postman Paoli looks to deliver around the outside. That was mega on the brakes, but can't quite get the drive for it. Topi ironclad as he shuts the door in the face of Paoli Partonen. But my oh my, Paoli has moves today.
I'll tell you what, he's delivering, and I wonder if he's got a special delivery on board, because he was going for that move, and that's an interesting one, because they've not been able to do that all week. Has he found something? But you notice he had to brake later, had to just slow the car down more, and I think that's what cost him there, as well as just that cambering. Had to just control the car, control the balance, and he's now sliding out of the dipper. I think he's overheated the tyre a bit. I think he's losing the balance of the car and a different line, and another slide through the Forest Elbow. But look who compromised his exit. Topi did not get a good exit.
And this is in range for Paoli Partonen as they race to the chase. This could be where the move starts to conduct. Where do you go? Left or right? Left or right? Well, he's only got one choice, and it's right. Down the inside here through the small click right. It's the long way around now as they battle into the corner, and Topi just gives a car win. But Paoli sticks the nose in, just won't get the drive. It's as close as you like on the nose cam. Switches over, tries to get the inside here at Murray's, and the short shoot run to the line. Look at them, dueling side by side here towards turn number 1. Topi Courtenemi desperately trying to stave off Paoli's charge. Half a car width still, and still they will not give an inch. Up the hill, Topi's got better top end and might be able to hold this off in a straight line drag. Journo Freacher is 1.8 seconds adrift, and that might help Topi in this one. But around the outside, oh, there's almost contact. Topi holds.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of contact there because Paoli had a slide that he had to correct and lost all the speed. And that is what you want to see, is the drivers going hell-bent for leather. But Topi can't afford to be that aggressive, because if he crashes, that's it. Paoli wins the championship. He has to behave, and Paoli's really putting the fight to him. What more do you want with two of the best finished drivers in an open wheeler battling around? And Gernot is 1.4 behind. Everybody before the race today joked that Gernot may be a spanner in the works. They've got their wish. It all comes down to the dipper again, though, Jake. Can Topi get the throttle and not lift this time? Paoli deep in, he locks up.
Oh, he had to get that one binded down on the brakes. I'm sure the anthill mob in the wacky races would have struggled to have got that one stopped at the Forest elbow too. So he'll drop the time, he'll put a little bit of heat into the tyres, but he won't worry so much now. It'll give him chance to reset, refocus, and go again next lap.
Yeah, and I think that's what he needs to do, because I think those tyres are a little bit crying right now. A lot of sliding. Some of these top drivers like to slide the car. It does feel a little bit faster nowadays, and all the pace comes into the front as well, so the rear goes around. But this is something Andy T was talking to me about earlier today, giving me a lot of pointers here, because this is a track I'm not used to seeing cars this fast. You got to make sure you're early on the brakes. You don't want to shift that weight. The rear will go on you, and that's what I think's happening to Pauli a little bit. Braking a bit too hard, letting the rear come around. Alexia Tapiavico doesn't want to see anything go around. Battling Kartik Pai, we've seen that a lot this season. Right behind Timothy Reed in that mock-up Ferrari. It's just trying to hope he can be better than two Ferraris today.
Yeah, now running here with a bit of slipstream, trying to work this to perfection, but ultimately this just transfer up through the quarry turn of turn number 2. No worries about trying to get this change sorted. They'll look at what their end game is, which is down the bottom of the hill and getting it done on Conrad. This is a championship and a race that we have been keeping such a close eye on. It's almost like these two drivers have had a microscope on them all season, rushing about and back down the hill once more through the Big Dipper, and this is where you're starting to sense where motive is going to be found. It's not a case of if, it's also a case of when.
It's also a case of who gets the better run on the exit. And today, well, this lap, it was Topi. Managed to gain a 10th coming out the exit. That means Pauli's going to have to gain a further 10th under the slipstream, and that's what he's doing right now. The gap started at 6/10. It's only 4/10 if they come to braking. It is starting to pull away a little bit from going up Freesia. I think they realized that, yes, the attacking's fine. 5 to go. Maybe wait a little bit, because Gunup's there waiting. Because all Topi needs right now is to make sure he gets third and make sure Pauli is behind him. Alexia Tapiavico is trying to also make sure that they get a good result here today. These are the two best groups we're seeing racing at the moment, the leaders, and this for P7. Oh, Alexis, you're not going to try and do this. The over-under? Maybe, but a slide is going to cost them.
Well, the way they're going up and down hills today, Alexi Tapiavico might need to be an ATV, an all-terrain vehicle, to go and get the pass done on Kartik Pai. Kartik puts the car in all the right place. If you want to talk basic fundamentals of racing, be like Kartik.
Be like Kartik, and Kartik is one of those drivers that you don't see at the front. He's like a Gerhard Berger, if you know what I mean, though, Jake. He's always there trying to get a little battling, and there he goes. Holds off on Alexia Tapiavico, and Timothy Reed goes on by. Actually, that's interesting. I mentioned Berger, who's right behind Pai right now. It's a man in a mock-up Ferrari, Timothy Reed.
Straight through, so Alexi Tapiavico's got to do it again to try and get that pass, and the gap's then forming. JV Masada nowhere. Miko Leno fifth on an island. Jack Davis Pickett on an island. You're seeing these tiny packs, a little car here, a little car there. That's where we start seeing where it goes. Pauli, 3.5 tenths of a second. It took him a couple laps just to settle it down. Now he's going to get a run here over towards the chase once again. Is this going to be the moment he starts trying to send a message saying, Topi, I want this title, I want to lead this race? Thinking about it outside again, he's going to have to search, and he paints himself down into the corner. There's nothing! Round he goes! Pauli goes spinning. Topi left him just racing room and now just has to finish for the title.
Yeah, Pauli went as tight as he could. He tried everything there. He knew he had to make the aggressive move, and it cost him. They just locked back wheels. Nothing malicious about that. That is hard racing. Pauli is going to be swearing him finished in his sim right now, but he knows 5 seconds is not going to be done. Here it goes. Here's this rundown. You'll see there's not a lot that Topi can do here. He starts to wash out. Look how close Pauli is, and as they make the turn, Pauli has to start turning in to get the run there on the exit of 21 into 22 at the chase. Not a lot he can do, but I'll tell you what he is doing. He just tried to go around the outside of JB Mercedes. Could not make it work. Even against JB, the outside is not quick for him.
No, and so he realizes he's needing a miracle here. That miracle is Journo Fritzsche gets himself tangled up with Topi Courtaniemi late. Remember, Topi's got a drop at 10 points. If Topi falls down the order, there's a great chance this race goes back to Pauli Partanen with the way he's conducted his season. There's a reason why drop rounds are sometimes fair and sometimes unfair, because you can be the best on points over the course of a full season by scoring the most, but scoring the most as he absolutely ragdolls the car down the hill and drops all the time. Being the driver with the most points when you've got 2 drop rounds doesn't always guarantee you the title.
No, and you would have to actually work out to yourself, this would be a drop week for him. That's how important, that's how strong Pauli's been this season, that this would be a drop week for him. And that would not help him at all if Timothy Reed starts to push down the button and looks for some moves. I will say that Pauli still can't make that move, and JB is defending it, and I think JB may crack. Unlike Topi, JB will be the egg that cracks right now as Pauli looks for the move. He knows he needs to get up to this. P3 would be good. Look at him. He's trying to get there and almost coming together. This is the man on a rampage right now. Pauli is trying to get back up there.
He knows he needs to get up. He'll get to third. He'll just brute force his way down the inside and get that place. But he knows with Mika Leno just behind, no more is the answer he can get. Now in a straight line, we'll see the difference here between Pauli and JB Masuda. JB able to pull up alongside as they will run on concurrent sides of the parallel lines on this Masuda around the outside isn't going to work. Now Mika Leno is going to look for the drive then up through the cutting. Too wide at the cutting is tough at the best of times. He's going to get there through turn 1. He's going to get there on the outside, but it's just not going to work, and Griffin's Mount is one line suits.
One line that suits, and I think Pauli had a little bit of a slide getting on the throttle. He's trying to find 7 seconds. Unfortunately, Pauli, 2 laps to go. If you find 7 seconds, you will be a god, my son. But that's going to be unfortunate. Going up, Fritzsche. Ow, where has he come with the pace all of a sudden? Is Topi just waiting? I know that he choked. He's going to fill the car up maximum here to just go hard out so he could do some burnouts after the race if he won. But Gunnar, even with that slide, he's starting to threaten this victory right now.
And Journo Fritzsche here in what is low fuel conditions is proving that he's got something still to prove. He knows that this has been a tough championship for his standards. He knows that he is a driver who back in the day, if you want to go back 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, he couldn't stop winning. He's still got twice as many wins as the next driver out there. He's that good. They hit the brakes then and work into Murray's, which leaves just 1 lap left on the title. 1.1 seconds, and Pauli will be praying for the Austrian to get to Topi Courtaniemi, to feel that there is pressure there, to see if there is any one lasting mistake that means that Topi can't get what he wants out of this championship. We talk about this one being an absolute brawl. Someone has been saying, look, if you want 2 of the best in the world, they'd be going at it week in, week out, like it's a knife fight in a phone booth. Only one's going to walk out as Superman at the end of racing, and it's looking like this guy right here, through the cutting, and you can see, just trying to dance his way through the various walls here around this circuit, up over the top of Griffin's Mount, and now the consecutive lefts then through at Reed Park. They'll now head themselves over Metal Grate and into McPhillamy. A look over at Peterbrook Skyline, how do you do? And down the hill through this Skyline section, now dealing with the Whitewater Rapids that end this circuit outright. Still at 1.1, he's got himself clearance and credence to know that out of the Forest Elbow, this is possibly the last great tough braking zone out there. 9/10, so there will be slipstream, but Journo is about 2 laps too far back out there at this moment. Now breathe for what will be for Glacier Racing, a classic that they have been searching for all season long. Topi Courtaniemi making his way to the chase. It hasn't been clean, the win here, but it was hard fought for. It has been as close as 2 great rivals possibly can, but heading over to Murray's, it is Topi's time as he heads for the checkered flag. Topi Courtaniemi takes the win and the title here in Lotus 79 action.
Ali Partonen's going to get the P3 away from JB. But welcome, Topi, to the three-time club. You will join Gernot. You will join Thomas Simon. You will join Pauli Partonen and Yami Costa. No, Yami, you're just on the outside there. But now there's a third name, and there's a new name on the F2 Championship. Josephine Becker seals it. The first woman to win the Lotus 79 F2s, and the first person to go double in the 49s and 79s.
A historic achievement for Josephine Becker as the rest of the drivers will filter on in. They'll wait all the way for Mauro Micheletti and Jakob Oberschlack, who are racing out there for the wooden spoon in terms of those on the lead lap. But Topi Kotkaniemi absolutely deserved in terms of this title, the way he has fought, the way he has driven. Pauli's been very consistent this year, but Topi going one above, knowing that his drops, he's played the game exactly as it's written. Best 10 results count, and Topi Kotkaniemi has just found the 10th and most important gauntlet to overcome.
It's been a season where nobody knew he was battling for that championship until he came back. Didn't start the start of the season. Decided to really start to hone down. And you look about the turning moment of the championship for him. Everything was going his way once he came in. Took a lot of victories. He missed the first 3 races, never missed another one. Every time he was there, it was podium or nothing. Not a lot of drivers could say they have podium on every race they've entered, all but one this season for Topi Kotkaniemi. And I believe once he gets to that start line, Jake, he's going to be burning that rubber down.
Well, he'll work his way then, a chance of self-reflection through the chase, and knowing that he has found a title as he has done so on a few occasions already, but now looking to prove on the downhill run into Murray's Corner. It is his moment out there. He it over towards the line, and is he going to flick spin this, or is he just going to stay there and wait? He sits, he waits, he gets himself ready. He is champion, and now he will get the 11Z into donuts, and what a way to celebrate a championship.
Every person wants to do it. Nowadays, you can't do the jump at Bathurst. Let's do it in style. Let's do it like they do it in the 1000. Let's just burn it down. He said he was going to have fuel to make sure he could do this, and this is what he wants. Does a little bit of a Polish there backwards for a moment, but this is something he's been waiting for. And like I said, 2 years ago, he missed out on the championship to Partonen. Today, he beats him.
1.1 seconds is the margin of victory after 37 minutes and 6 seconds of racing action. Gernot Fritzsche is the driver second, who sees again another very worthy champion beat him to the crown. You've got Pauli Partonen, who did everything but keep himself out of trouble. It's third for him ahead of JB Masada, with Mikko Leno and Jack David Spickett 5th and 6th. Kartik Pai will finish this one off in 7th ahead of Timothy Reed, with Josephine Becker, your F2 champion, in 9th, beating out Alexi Tapiavico to the line.
Coming home in P11, it will be Mickey Friesen up 4, and up 4 for Aaron Blair in 12th, and up 4 for Miera in 13th. Carlos Peralta will be 14th, and Dylan Freckleton in 15th. Michael Dix makes 7 up to go 16th, and if you play the Jason Clapper sweepstakes, up 11 today into 17th. Art Karts will be in 18th, with Daniel Banker in 19th. Keith Herner rounds out the top 20. We still had a few more runners on the lead lap.
Yeah, so 23 would find the finish, and 23 on the lead lap. So Kurt Clapper, Jakob Oberschlack, and Mauro Micheletti make up 21 to 23. You've then got Jacob Reed as your first retirement with a blown engine fighting for the race lead. Alberto Senao with damage. Jean-Francois Boscus and Luca Monroe. Well, Christmas cards will not be exchanged between those two after their miscommunication over the top of the quarry corner. Antonio Alvarez went out over the top of Skyline, and then Matthew Cockram and Gabri Martinez in trouble just 3 laps into what was a truly magical race out there. We do have a chance to chat with some drivers who have worked through. The driver who finished second today was Gernot Fritzsche. Craig King has caught up with him in the virtual paddock.
Yeah, John, I got to say, that looked like you were a couple laps away from getting that victory there. Did you feel at the end that you may have had that pace?
Yeah, for some reason my race setup worked really well during the second half of the race. So in the beginning I was pushing a lot, but also struggling a bit to stay close to the top guys. But yeah, in the end I was quite quick. So yeah, surprised about my pace this week. But yeah, still hard battle. I don't think that I would have had a chance to overtake Topi.
Well, anything can happen out there. You just never know, but it's still a fantastic race to get there. We got to talk about Topi as well, because as I was saying on the broadcast, there are a few men that are in the Prix championship group. You are one of them. You've got to have a new seat on the table for Topi out there today. It's going to feel good to see Topi back on the top step here.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah. Just as much as Pauli would have been a worthy champion, because both of them are doing so well every single week, and they're really pushing the limits. So yeah, huge congrats to Topi, but also to Pauli for making this a super close championship battle.
Oh, it's been fantastic to see it close. And of course, it's also good to see you always there. You are the veteran. No man has had more wins than you. And we always wonder if there's going to be another driver. I always ask this. It's the end of the year. 2026 is coming. Are we thinking there's going to be some new names? Have you seen some drivers out there that are going to be the next name out there? Because I feel like someone has to take the battle to you, Topi, Pauli, and Togo at some point. And I think there's a few drivers that may have that ability.
I think there are always some newcomers doing really well in this series. So the level up top is crazy high. So yeah, hard to say a certain name. This week I really was surprised by JB Masida. Who drove very, very quickly here and really was pushing me in the first half of the race.
Well, yeah, JB got that P4, a real good drive from him. And like I said, it's a drive you always expect to look on the lookout. Gunnar, you are the legend, and it's always great to have you in. But congratulations on a P2 and the fastest lap today. And hopefully we look forward to seeing you after a break for next season.
Yeah, I'll be back. Thank you, guys, and congrats, Topi, again.
Gernot Terminator Freacher there as we go on. And Jake, it's only fair. The champion is alongside you. I think you may be making a knock on the top step for him.
Topi Korsuniemi, it was a case of win and the title would be yours. Pole position was yours. It's a case of finding that result. But all of it comes through the hard work and dedication over the course of the season. Just talk us through the hard work, the effort that it's taken to be up there at the top and so lightning fast and consistent.
I don't know, it's just practice the right things, like keeping the car under control, don't overdrive, and go fast.
Well, going fast, the name of the game, and you were able to manage that. You got the pole position today, but you had big challengers behind you. Jacob Reed in the early to mid stages, as well as that, your main rival, Pauli Partanen. Just talk us through how you built that car today to make it such a rocket ship on the straights.
I mean, last time I raced Pauli was a year ago, and then I made a winner-win setup. I made it more win and win, and that was it.
That's all it needed to be. But let's talk about the moment where the title was decided. You and Pauli at the chase. It looked like, in terms of how they went, it was a racing incident that both you and Pauli left just enough room, and you just got unlucky with the contact then between each other. Just talk us through how you looked to try and go through that battle, how you tried to make that move and defend that place, and how Pauli was being aggressive trying to get that from you, and your take on the incident.
Yeah, I knew from last year that you really want to be on the inside into turn 2, because there's a lot of negative camber on the outside, so the inside always wins. And I think I proved it today. And then it's, I don't know, it might be the winning move to go to the inside into the chase. I mean, it's safer because it's so crowded in the first left-hander, and I reviewed the replay, and for what it looks on my side, I couldn't have gone any more on the inside when the contact happened, so I don't think it's a racing incident. I did want to win this way because it was so good battle all the way to the tap point, but yeah, I think it's a racing incident. Yeah.
Topi, it's a win for you and Glacier Racing. How do you plan on celebrating?
I'm gonna warm up the sauna and maybe have a drink.
That is what we call a classic way to deal with a title win. Topi Korteniemi, your champion here in the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. What an incredible showcase, Craig, of racing that you've got, and the character of a driver like Topi. He says only what he needs to say. He does only what he needs to do. He wins only what he needs to win.
Well, we know what the Finnish drivers are like. They are just ruthless and just to the point, and that's what the drivers have done today. And it is always great to see Finnish drivers. They have dominated this series for what, the last 2-3 years, maybe even 4 years. Someone's got to knock on the door, and the only man that's done that for the last, well, only two men is JDS and Toga Hizada. So anything can happen, but you've got to say, after a race like this, after a weekend like this, I love sim racing.
Sim racing is incredible, and one of the biggest things about it is it never stops, because 2026 Season 1 is just 2 weeks away as the start of the season looms. And here with us at the Global SimRacing Channel, there'll be more amazing sim racing coming to you over the next couple of weeks and the like. From the entire team that has brought this show over to you, from Daniel Costello behind in the director's chair, Dougie Beard's cameras, Craig King alongside me, my name is Jake Sperry. A title is one that always wants to be fought for right down to the wire. Margins are finite out there in all forms of racing circles, but the question to be asked is now answered. Who was able to stand up on top and say, I've got elbows wider than anyone else, I crave P1 more than anyone else, I win more than anyone else? The name's Topi Korteniemi, a championship in his back pocket, and he is the new yardstick as we head towards the 2026 season. Thank you so much for watching. For all of us at GSRC, have a very, very good rest of your day, and this is where great sim racing comes to life.
This is iRacing.